Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 20th of May. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barry. How goes it, Joshua?
Yeah, it goes not bad, mate. How are you? You all well?
All good, thank you. Yep. No complaints, really. Very much looking forward to what will unfold with regards to Rangers over the next few months, and plenty to discuss on the show this morning. Before we get stuck right in, quick word for our podcast sponsors. As ever, S1 Jobs. If you're looking to hand in your transfer request, folks, head over to S1 Jobs and upload your CV today. There are thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh and the surrounding areas. You'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Right, where shall we start? Well, Saturday, of course, is when Rangers rounded off ultimately their disappointing league campaign. Sunday, Barry Ferguson was confirmed as having left the club, and Rangers pursuing another option as permanent manager. Just on that news, Joshua, I've not been on with you since that was confirmed Sunday evening. No real surprise for you to see Barry and co depart?
Nah, no real surprise, because I think, as is most people have probably discussed and thought, Derek, you'd have had to do something extraordinary, be that win the Europa League, get to the final, or dramatically close a gap at the top of the table to have enough evidence. And that's, I think, the reality when you are a bit of an unproven manager. So not totally surprised. In my opinion, I think that maybe you'd have had a better chance if you'd kind of gone with the young players and looked ahead to next season and kind of started something that perhaps could continue into the next campaign. But the noises always were that this was something that was short term. You can argue about the validity of having another kind of short-term project in a season that probably just needed Rangers to look ahead to next season. Okay, had some memorable moments in there too, the win away at Parkhead and getting through against Fenerbahce, but no real surprise. It was consistent with the noises that have been there for a couple of months, really, regarding Rangers' next man in the dugout. So I presume you are the same, but I think that to have got that job from this position, especially if there was no takeover happening, maybe you have a better opportunity of that, because the pool is smaller, the job is less appealing, and ultimately there's less money to spend, although I'm led to believe that's still a bit up in the air at the moment as this takeover is finalised. But no major surprises. Perhaps a little bit surprised that it was done so early. I thought Rangers might allow that conversation to rumble on a few more days while they get their ducks in a row and their manager sorted in the background. But as you say, they were pretty prompt with that statement on Sunday afternoon, confirming Barry Ferguson's future.
Yep, I said it when I was on with Stevie yesterday. I'd be forever grateful for Barry for his time taking up the reins when he was called upon. And thank you for Fenerbahce and Celtic. It always talked well in press conferences, and then held him and did his very, very best as manager. So, I can't fault his time in charge, but I just think the results probably went against him over the piece, which is difficult in some respect, because he could only work with the tools that he had at his disposal. So, wish him well wherever he goes, whether that's a club elsewhere, if he's got the thirst for management again, who knows? But always welcome back at Ibrox. Now, with that announcement, Joshua, many, including myself, start thinking, well, we should be edging closer to confirmation of the replacement and the new permanent manager of Rangers. Number of publications reporting in the last 48 hours, 24 hours or so, still several names being linked with the gig, including one, as Paul Murphy raises the point here, please squash the Gerrard rumours. A lot of noise around Steven Gerrard at this moment in time, Joshua. It won't go away. Ever since Clement was dismissed, his name was at the forefront of the bookies' odds, and certainly not going away at this point in time. I've said my piece on Gerrard. If Rangers were going down that route, I just don't think Rangers would be getting the Steven Gerrard that they got in 2018. I would question whether he still has the drive and hunger to take Rangers over. I would also question his last 2 jobs, where he ultimately failed miserably at Aston Villa and also Al Ettifaq. Would it work a second time? I'm not too sure it would, but it is speculation at this point in time. He's not the only one. A name that's still swirling around in the bookies odds. I've seen Russell Martin also, some suggesting that he's still up there as a person of interest. Your thoughts on where we are, the state of play at this moment in time?
The state of play. I don't think the state of play has changed too much since probably Chris spoke to you last, or we spoke at the end of last week, and that there's still a number of names in for it. Gerrard has, we believe, been spoken to about the job. Obviously, there's varying levels of what spoken to means, Derek. There's kind of sounding out generally and seeing if there would be interest there. But there's obviously a long way to go forward from that process. If you were to push me on it right now, and I would hasten to say that things can change very quickly, and I'm led to believe that it's still pretty open. But if you were to push me on it right now, I would still think that Rangers do go for more of a newer voice, someone who they perhaps haven't had at the club previously. The complications surrounding that are, let's say, for example, that Davide Ancelotti is your favourite for the job, or Danny Röhl too. Danny Röhl has a number of clubs interested in him, including clubs from the Bundesliga and the Premier League. That's a lot of competition for Rangers to go alongside. The job at the moment requires someone who's going to not take it on as a project, but there's an element of risk about it at the moment because of how infrequently Rangers have won titles in recent years. So you could, for example, get down to a final 4 or 5 names, and then suddenly if someone else was to come in for Ancelotti, or if the role move, as I don't think it will, doesn't materialise, then suddenly you need to go backwards and look at other names. And I think that's probably the situation Rangers are in at the moment, which is why they've kept their options so open, and it could still pivot in any direction. Do I think Gerrard, going back to Gerrard, would be right? The positive is he gets the nuance. You know, we obsess so much about the nuances of Scottish football. He gets it, whatever that means, right? But he's not going to be shocked when he goes to Derek McInnes's Tynecastle on the opening day of the season. No. So there are positives to it. He did create a brilliant team in his final season. He would be a figurehead. Would the past and his exit complicate things? I think it would until he won. But then the question is, would he win right away? What level of investment would he need? The negatives are there's so many storylines around it. How does Gerrard's voice work in there alongside a technical director, a sporting director, a group technical director? That's before you get to a CEO, that's before you get to a chairman, and before you get to majority owners in Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marathi. What happens with his backroom staff, because both he and Michael Beale have tended to work better with one another than when they have apart. Spare Beale's start at Ibrox, and could that feasibly happen? I think that would have a lot of complications too. And then ultimately for me, is going back the right way to go forward, Derek? Is that the best option, the best solution that Rangers have in this moment in time? The predominant noises, and this applies to recruitment, which we'll get into over the next couple of days too, in line with a piece we've got on the website. But the noises seem to suggest that Rangers will keep going for younger players, will adopt a lot of the generalised methods that you'd expect when you get bought by American owners who have maybe a bit more of a futuristic view of sport, in terms of having this wider structure around the manager and allowing the coach to be the coach on the football pitch. That's different from what Gerrard arrived into in 2018. But you'd probably say, in terms of his reputation as a manager, he's kind of back where he was in 2018, and he is unproven. Yeah. And you can understand, I think, in hindsight, why he jumped to Aston Villa, because you see the club's potential. Obviously, it didn't work out for him there, but it's not worked out for him subsequently. And it's interesting to see where he goes just in isolation in his management career. Because a few years ago, you'd have said it was realistic or possibility or a conversation that he succeeded Jurgen Klopp, whereas now that feels or felt so very far away when it came around.
A pipe dream, yeah. Honestly, see if Gerrard was the guy that Rangers would go down the route in appointing. I would prefer Barry to stay. That's where I would stand on it. I would prefer Barry get the tools and take Rangers forward. So, Chris is busy scurrying away, as he always is, with regards to the managerial situation, folks. If there is anything new to report, you'll hear it first on the website and on the YouTube channel as well. I love this, though. DJ Sooth says, Ruben Amorim will be available soon. Depending on how tomorrow night goes, that's for sure. He may have... he may be phoning S1 Jobs, perhaps, and uploading his CV. So
nice, yeah. Well played. That's great product placement.
The S1 Jobs will be delighted with that, but there you go. Moving on, because there's lots of Rangers news to discuss. Bombshell, well, is it bombshell news? Maybe,
bombshell.
Yeah.
Wow. We don't use that much. I'm intrigued.
Lyall Balogun, of course, departing the club. He's posted an Instagram message, folks. I'll read you what he has had to say in the last 45 minutes. He's posted this. He says, "It's that time again. No caption could summarise all that is going through my mind as I'm writing these lines. It's been nothing short of an honour, a pleasure, and a great privilege to represent this massive club twice. So many memories, good ones as well as a few tough ones. But it's the latter especially that made my love for the club grow even stronger. The moments when we all stuck together and went again, no matter the disappointment or frustration, in these moments the club revealed what makes it most special. You, the people supporting us week in, week out, near and far, demanding, expecting, pushing us to do better and go for glory. The people working for the club behind the scenes, meeting us with a smile every day, doing their absolute best to contribute to the success of the club in their own way. You're the heartbeat of the club, and it's been an honour to represent you. If I would have known that the last two games of the season were my last for the club, I would have made sure to say goodbye to all of you accordingly. Unfortunately, I wasn't afforded that opportunity, which saddens me, as I would have liked to have walked around Ibrox one last time and returned all the love and support you've given me during my two stints. I don't know when I'll be back, but I promise I won't be a stranger. Thank you for making me feel at home and appreciated wherever we met. You've become more than just my club. You've become family, and for that, I will be forever grateful. All the best, my people. Leon." Lyall Balogun departs, Joshua. I've said it before. I thought Rangers would have kept him on for an extra year, but he moves on. Your thoughts on that?
We kind of discussed this last week, didn't we? In terms of older players moving on, creating a pathway. I think there's two different discussions. Balogun, I do agree with and concur with the view that if Rangers had found him earlier in his career, I know you watched him earlier in his career and you weren't quite as sure when he came to the club.
Yeah, he was a bit. It was a marauding centre back that often liked to make silky runs up to the final third of the opposition pitch and then lose it and then was out of position. So I was a tad concerned, but he proved me wrong. He was a real sterling player for Rangers.
Yeah, and he really seemed to come into his own. And he spoke about this recently in the press conference, how he's not really had a team, having been in professional football since he was so young, and Rangers have become that team. He's someone that the fans took to, understandably, very quickly on both occasions. You know, he played out of position. I think when he fractures his cheekbone away at Athletic Bilbao, it was the fourth time in his career, he said. And he was always very candid and honest and a real kind of gent to deal with. So he can... I think of a lot of Rangers spells in the last few years maybe have ended on a sour note, whereas I think Balogun can hold his head high, and there's a lot to be said for that. On the contrary, if you're looking at this from a squad building point of view, if you're looking at this from a moving, no sentimentality at all, you know, Balogun came off injured in the final day of the season too. How many games is he going to be able to play? Is 37. We revealed last week at some point, losing track of the days, that Rangers have a strong interest in bringing Cameron Burgess, I think it's pronounced, from Ipswich, who's 29 years old, 6'4", left-footed, plays now left-sided. So if you think of him and Clinton and Ciala, I still think you need probably a little bit more investment in the centre-back position. I would expect that Robin Propper leaves the club this summer. So then you're thinking, okay, what is the position for Balogun? Because if you're able to bring in Burgess, if that deal works, Derek, and you have Ciala there, and you have a Suter, I still think you need two players, at least, probably, or maybe two players overall in the centre half position. One of them is someone to really build around. I think a 22, 23, 24-year-old who is a step ahead of Ciala, and he's proven. someone that I think Rangers hoped this time last year Jose Cordoba would be, to really challenge John Souttar in that right centre-back area and play alongside one of those two left-sided centre-backs, and then maybe another young player to operate behind those two, and or someone like, in the ratio Casemiro would have provided that flexibility last season. But if I'm looking at it with no sentimentality at all, this is someone who Rangers released a few years ago to create a pathway, and they need to do that. Again, I would argue the last few months should have been spent playing Clinton and Ciala more regularly, because similar to someone like Bailey Rice, if they're not going to learn in those games, when are they going to be afforded an opportunity to get up to speed and achieve that experience that is necessary? And we're always told is necessary in press conferences when it's put to different managers, why are these young guys not playing? But because Balogun is such a popular member of the team, I think it's one that naturally people will be a little bit sad about too. But that's my view. I don't know if you differ from it at all.
Yeah, I get your point. It has to come a point when he moves on, and he has been injury prone, unfortunately, as well. So, it's just one of those ones. You need to look towards the future. Can't keep everyone forever, but he'll be a big miss. I think off the pitch, he's a big voice in the dressing room, sort of guy you want in and around the place. I think you need guys like that, experienced pros. Rangers, I know Burgess, but he's 29, I think. But I think you need guys, and I've been there that have done that can help the younger players as well. So, I wish him very best wherever he goes, Leon. I'm sure he won't have a problem getting a club at some level, whether that's down south or abroad, who knows. But he always served at Rangers well. So thank you, Leon. One player who, first of all, this comes in from Scotty, says, when can we expect an announcement from the club as who's been released, lads? Soon, I'd imagine.
Shortly.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if that isn't confirmed before the end of May. We're almost at the end of May. So would expect that shortly.
Yeah. One player who will be arriving at the club as one leaves, one is about to enter, and that is Lyall Cameron of Dundee. Scored a double at the weekend to make sure that they ensured their top flight status for next season. And then ultimately Tony Docherty sacked by Dundee, which is a bit of a strange one, but there you go. But Lyall Cameron was speaking at the weekend about the move and about appearing for Dundee after signing that pre-contract. He says it wasn't the easiest time when I announced I was leaving. Fair enough, I got an awful lot of criticism from that. I had to take that on. I felt there was a lot of apprehension over whether it was still committed to the club. Some people doubted that, but always said that I was, and I have been right to the end. Every time a Rangers game came around, I happened to be injured, but that was the case, and it was just unfortunate I got flack for that. However, you just have to keep going. I actually played a lot of time through niggles and tightness. Maybe in my position I shouldn't have, but the type of person I am, I just want to give my best for the club that supported me for the last few years. And he says that Dundee have been good for me, and I'm glad I've been able to give them that. And he will be arriving at Rangers in the summertime. Joshua, you saw a fair bit of him. Someone that the fans should be excited about seeing in the Rangers jersey, do you reckon?
I think that's fair. He's not and I guess when this was announced too, if you're signing a player from Dundee, then it's not going to whet the appetite as a big multi-million-pound signing would. But that's not to say that the relative impact can't be good. John's comment there, we become the new Scott Arfield. That I've seen that tweet to that narrative growing. So no pressure, Lyall Cameron. But he does have, I think 19 goal contributions this season for Dundee in a poor Dundee team who finished 10th. And as you say, Tony Docherty was sacked, but they're very close to relegation. I think it's just quite a common sense signing, Derek, because we know that Rangers need Scottish players. They've not made these type of signings from the Scottish League enough in recent years. Lewis Ferguson is always the one that's held up, but there's other examples too of players from other clubs in Scotland who have went on to do good things in the Premier League or Italy in particular. And I think if you look at Connor Barron, I know he's not ended the season as well as he started it, but for 600 grand or whatever Rangers paid in that tribunal fee, I think he's a good squad player, isn't he? And he's someone who's actually played quite a lot of football this season. I don't think he should be one of the starting central midfielders next season, but he's still young. He's 22. You'd imagine he could will still improve. And Cameron probably gives you a type of midfielder in terms of, to go back to John's comment, attacking the box away, taking shots. Rangers don't have many of them. And while he is, we also reported on interest in Josh Mulligan about a month ago, and
yeah,
I think what stands out about Mulligan is, and you see this with interest in Cameron Burgess too, he's a big physical profile. He's someone who can eat up ground, who can get forward and back a lot. And Cameron is small, but he's also, if you watch him, he's a great runner. He's someone who can be really effective in transitions and who does those late runs into the box too. So I don't expect that he'll come in and be Rangers out and out number 8 and won't be moved from there. But if he's hitting those type of numbers for Dundee, then you'd expect, in a poor Dundee team, you'd expect he will be able to contribute in some way at Ibrox. So it's low risk. You need that Scottish quota. It's a signing that I'm pretty comfortable with, even if I'm not sure that it's going to move Rangers 4 or 5 paces forwards.
Yep. They always said they should be looking at some of the best talent in Scotland. You mentioned there Mulligan as well. Confident to think that that's a move that can materialise as well, Joshua, and that right-hand side. I think Rangers, I've said it before, they need 2 full-backs for me. He would certainly come in on that right-hand side and provide some stability there.
Yeah, and for me, it's more the profiles they need too, because I think, for example, Mulligan would be a better option than Ross McCausland in the Rangers squad at the moment if you're looking on a case-by-case basis. And what he probably gives you, because he played as a right back, he played predominantly as a wing back, but also kind of a right central midfielder. But without getting too caught up in is he a right back or is he a midfielder? I think if you look at his profile, he's someone who, as I say, has a lot of physicality, can carry the ball pretty well, is still young. If you looked at Rangers this season, I think one of the biggest criticisms, whether it be shown in proper or in the lack of pace up front, was that they were too easy to run over the top over. And you need more individual kind of real athletes who are going to help you level up in certain areas of the pitch. And again, Mulligan, if that was to be done, and there's still an element of Rangers having a waiting game with their recruitment as everything behind the scenes, whether that be the manager or the takeover, gets completed. Again, I think it would be a low-risk signing. I'm not entirely sure whether he would be coming in to challenge James Tavernier. You've also got Dujon Sterling, who will be coming back from injury at some point, but can you rely on him until then? But then you've still got probably a plan for him next season. So does Mulligan come in as someone to challenge at right back, but also play higher up the pitch? It's interesting not to compare Rangers squad building to Liverpool, but Liverpool are kind of the benchmark of what you should be doing in football. And they're signing Frimpong and to replace Andy Alexander Arnold. No. Well, I think Alexander Arnold. You might be more ears to the ground with me.
He played right back.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Right. Connor Bradley all the way. Connor Bradley loyal.
Well, I think Connor Bradley will be great assist last night. I saw the highlights against Brighton. I think he will be the right back, but the thinking kind of is that Frimpong will be it's more the profile that Liverpool are signing. Because clubs have 5 substitutes now, so that in certain games they can go with him. And maybe Mulligan, because he is this kind of roadrunner, pretty aggressive, big physical guy, rather than looking at it and saying, will he play that role the same as James Tavernier? They're looking at the situation and saying, here's someone who's a good potential, good physical attributes, and a profile that we lack currently in the squad. And therefore that transfer would make sense. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. I don't think Rangers are the only club interested in him too, as he runs down his contract at Dens at current.
I love this. Willie says Rangers should sign Andy Robertson. That would be a bombshell move if that materialised. Yeah, I think he's more likely to sign for the team in the other half of the city at some point. But interesting stuff. There's a point. I love this comment as well. Nice little segue, because we'll move on. And Ali Quinn says it. John Brown done no bad for Dundee, Josh lad. And that leads us nicely on, because another bit of news yesterday, the fallout from Saturday's debacle at Easter Road. You may have seen that yesterday, the SFA compliance officer. Yes, he does exist. He's peeked his head above the trough, and it's been revealed yesterday. He's set to review, or he or she, I'm not too sure who the compliance officer is these days, but they're set to review comments made by John Brown during that 2-2 draw with Hibernian. It's followed the incident with Nico Raskin and Rocky Bashiri when the ball crossed the line, and Nick Walsh apparently never saw the ball cross the line, or any of the officials in charge. That Bomber was angered by that. He said, I would say it is corrupt. Commentator Tom Miller at that point says, well, I'm not sure we can actually say that, before Brown continued. Well, I am saying it. So that's sparked this SFA investigation somewhat, and a Rangers statement followed, which read, several read, in a season where Rangers have been on the receiving end of several major officiating errors, frustration is entirely understandable. The idea that spontaneous remarks could warrant disciplinary action is excessive, surprising, and inconsistent. This development should not overshadow what was a clear mistake. Evident to anyone who has seen the footage of the game, the focus should be on raising refereeing standards for the good of Scottish football. Should a charge follow, we will defend it and question whether club channels across the league are being monitored and policed equally. So there you go. We spoke about, there was on with Steve about Rangers' statement following that incident, Joshua, and saying how it might not have went far enough. This certainly is a strong statement on the back of that.
Yeah, Scottish football is just. This is when we speak about the nuances. They do actually exist, because it is just like a soap drama, isn't it? Obviously, watching the goal at the time, I was at home and Chris was at the game, and it was on a serious note. Can you imagine if that was a game where something was riding on it?
It's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, it's and I thought Nico Raskin spoke about it quite well after, when he said he was kind of pushed on, does this make the league a laughing stock? And obviously he's played in Belgium, which is a higher league. He will go on to play in higher leagues in his career, and he's also a Belgium international. And he said, look, I'm not going to say that, but if you want to make your league more reputable, if you want to close the gap to leagues above you, you just cannot have incidents like. Now, refereeing incidents do happen everywhere. Absolutely. You go back to the famous one, Liverpool and Tottenham a couple of years ago under Klopp, where there was the offside gate that never was, and you remember the VAR audio was released there, and that was made to look very amateur. So it's not only isolated to Scotland, but there has been a lot of errors this season, and that was just it was comedic, but it was only comedic because there was nothing riding on the game. And if there was something riding on the game, then I think the fallout from it would be a lot more serious. Because can you imagine if that was a game where Rangers needed a win to go for the title? Well, I know their season doesn't suggest that, but in a hypothetical world.
Well, it's comedic if it happens at fives or you're playing with your pals. Yeah. It's comedic. This is totally unacceptable. It makes a mockery of the game. DJ Schiff just says here something riding on it. You mean like the League Cup final? There's another disastrous
there you go.
Ton of events as well. No repercussions here for the officials. And we touched on it yesterday. Are we surprised given who is at the top of the chain? No, need an actual root and branch clear out for me to change and improve the officiating in this country. I suspect we'll be talking about the same issues next season as well. It's a total joke, as Nico quite rightly said. We want to improve Scottish football and make it taken more seriously amongst outsiders, improve the officiating, invest in the technology, and if we don't do that, then it's going to continue to be a bit of a joke league, let's be honest. An absolute disastrous call at the weekend. And if Bomber can just cite a number of individuals that have said daft stuff on their club channels and they haven't been punished. So, I'm sure that Bomber will be all right. In fact, he's probably wanting to be called up in front of the Beaks to tell them face to face exactly what he thinks of them. So that might be quite a thing that he enjoys and revels in. But there you go. Right. I think that's us in terms of news for the day. In fact, we'll touch on this, Joshua, from yesterday. Mark Boyle's comment I tagged here. I think I'm not too sure if we discussed this chap when I've been on with you before, but Mark says, Thoughts on McCoy's thinking we should go for Vardy? So Ali McCoy's on TalkSport yesterday, talking about Jamie Vardy, who of course is left Leicester now, leaving. There's still another Premier League game to go, I think. 38 years of age. He said, we were in discussions yesterday, me and my Rangers mates. I would take him in 2 minutes at Rangers. I really would. But he also said, something tells me that he's got something organised, whether it's America or another club. I think he will have something organised. Jamie Vardy, yes or no?
He'd be absolutely tremendous value. He's also probably on quite a lot of money and will go to the MLS or some comparable league. I would expect that Rangers are going to sign a lot of young players, not a 38-year-old. But I think he would score a lot of goals up here. And there is obviously the Jermaine Defoe element of the example of when that can work in a squad. Can you imagine Vardy if he scored an Old Firm goal away from home or at home and celebrated with aplomb? I think he would revel in it. Yeah. So I don't hate that as much as some of the transfer shouts you put to me, but I don't think Rangers will be building their attack around him.
Yeah, it'll be weird. It'll be weird to see them at another club. He's been at Leicester for a long time, so remains to be seen how long he's going to play for. He does keep himself in good shape, of course. He's scored a good few goals this season for Leicester as well. He's a real goal machine. So, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. Right, that will do us there. Action-packed show this morning. Lots to discuss. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, folks, and to the website as well to keep up to date with anything that we hear with regards to Rangers. So make sure you do that. And if I don't speak to you later on today, then enjoy your Tuesday and we'll chat again tomorrow. Until then, bye for now.